Beacons, how have you been? We started a series on discipline and how it pertains to parenting, and then last week we took it up a notch. We began to compare the traits of some animals using some traditional tales we've been told before as children or we've heard of before, but still have their very, very, very great relevance, especially with regards to parenting. Today, we'll be looking at the keys to accelerating discipline drawing cues from the story of the tortoise and the hare. Have you ever heard that story? Does it sound familiar at all? Does it even ring a bell? Okay, for the benefits of those of us who haven't heard the story, let us like we did last week. Let us go through a brief summary. Now, the story of the tortoise and the hare begins with the hare bagging around telling the other animals how he's the fastest, how he could outrun everyone, and he was very, very fast. So the other animals were actually tired of him always bragging and always rubbing it in their faces. So they practically were tired of him. I would be too, because really somebody that is that full of himself and is always maybe rubbing it in their noses that I'm the greatest and the fastest. And then there came a tortoise as slow as he is. I wonder where the courage came from. I wonder how he was able to dare the hare to a race, knowing that he was the slowest animal there ever. Is he the slowest animal ever? Okay, well, according to folklores, well, the ones I've heard over the years, tortoise has always been told of as the slowest animal. So I'm wondering, what gave him the courage? What about him made him feel like he could challenge the hare to a racing competition or contest? And then they started. Well, shortly before they started, one of the animals called on the tortoise and said, "Why do you think you can take on the hare?" And tortoise answers, he says, if he's truly as proud or as arrogant or as boastful as you people say he is, then winning this competition will be a walk in the park. And then the race starts. Or shortly before it starts, the hare says he's hungry. He hasn't had breakfast yet. He should just get this over to, and get this done with so that he'll move on with his day. He puts his carrot in his pocket, and then the race begins. He runs so fast and then gets halfway, and then the tortoise is just crawling. He looks back and finds that he could not see the tortoise. Meanwhile, Mr. Tortoise is crawling slowly and really, really sweating it out. It gets to a point where Mr. Hare, in his braggadocious manner, went and lay down to rest. He said he wanted to have breakfast since Mr. Tortoise was not forthcoming. And then he did. And then he picked up pace again and started running. And so when he looked back again and didn't see the tortoise, and he said he was sleepy. Can you imagine the guts? And he was really sleepy, and then he went on to take a nap. Mr. Tortoise came slow but steady, gradually, and so he caught up with him and met him sleeping. So he walked past him. Shortly before he got to the finish line, Mr. Hare woke up, and to his greatest dismay, the tortoise was close to winning. He tried all he could. He gathered momentum, but it was too late. The tortoise had crossed the finish line, and now it was Mr. Slow Tortoise's turn to rub it in his face and say, "It is not because I was more talented than you are that I won this race. It's because you were too full of yourself. You got too cocky and confident, and then you lost to me." Oh well, I have to go back to my home now because it's a far, far, far it's a long, long, long way away. So he left, and then the tortoise the hare became humble. He was no longer boastful, and then he never competed with anyone again. How does this story relate with parenting? We'll be looking at the attributes of the tortoise. What could make a very slow animal outrun an animal as fast as a hare? The first attribute to be looking at is persistence. Well, I would say first and foremost courage, because it must have taken a lot of courage for him to think he would take on the hare and win. He must have been very courageous. He believed in himself. He had a very high self-esteem. But these are not our focal areas today. Persistence. He knew he couldn't win, okay, by his attributes or characteristics or physical composition. He wasn't wired to run fast, But he knew that with all the skills he had garnered or mastered over the years, or for however long he had learned them, he could beat the talented guy. And so with persistence, he kept on going, even when it seemed that the end was not in sight. The next one is perseverance. Was it hot and scorching? For him to be dripping in sweat means that it was really hot. It must have been tiring because it must have been a distance too. But he persevered. He kept on going. He kept on going despite the fact that he was tired. He believed himself, but courage alone was not enough. And then Mr. Tortoise was very determined. I can imagine how much determination it took him to start from the start line and then keep on till the finish line. He could have woken the Hare up and told him, see, I've got up with you. But he was determined. He had his eyes on the prize. The next one is patience. It takes a lot of patience to start a task and see through to its end. And then it takes a lot of endurance. Like the task gets tough. It feels like you want to give up, you want to cave in, the pressures get worse. But then you are there, you keep at it, you endure, and then because you have the end in sight or in your mind, you get going no matter what. Now on the flip side, let's just look at the attributes of the Hare that made him lose the race to the slowest animal in the kingdom. Number one, overconfidence. Now, he got too full of himself. A healthy dose of pride is very okay. But when he now goes overboard and becomes overconfident, the fact that you're now boastful, cocky and braggadocious, then defeat is it's inevitable, He got too confident in himself and then couldn't keep it in check. He didn't have the self-control to keep that in check. That made him lose. The next one is lack of focus. He was winning. He started off very well. He was winning. He was built to win. In his very nature, there was even no basis for comparison. Tortoise and Hare for what? But he lost sight of what he was doing. He got carried away and temporarily sat down for a carrot. And then because he felt dizzy or sleepy after eating the carrot, he had to take a nap. However, just starting the race and then running to the finishing line. And when you get there, you sit down and eat your carrots while you wait for Mr. Tortoise to come crawling or strolling down. But he lost sight of his goal and then caved. He took a nap. That's so hilarious. He took a nap. The next one very quickly is complacency. And because you think you're very good, you now become too confident in yourself. You now have this mindset that you know it all. There's no point taking on new knowledge. There's no point digging deeper. There's no point looking for new information because you just feel like, okay, I've been a parent, for instance, for 10 years. What's there to learn? I've been a parent for 20 years. What's new? What else is there about parenting? And then he was very inconsistent. He started very well. He paused to eat a carrot. He continued again. He paused to take a nap. Really, Mr. Hare, which one are we doing? Are we eating? Are we napping? Or are we competing? Or are we winning this race? What insight is there to draw from this story? Number one, consistency is key. It is very important as parents to not only set our goals, to not only have a definite chief aim, like we said in our last video. It's very important to stay consistent. It is the consistent blow from a farmer's axe that fells the tree. Now, there's a proverb that says, "Do not fear a man who punches 10,000 blows, but rather fear the man who who punches one blow 10,000 times. It is not strength that makes water cut through a rock. It is consistency. If you are not consistent in your goals, if you're not consistent in your with your routine or the schedule you've mapped out, you see that your castle will begin to cave in. Number two is focus. We need to really learn the art of focus, because seriously, the world we live in right now, is not giving us any room at all to even stay on the task or stay on the goal we've set to ourselves. With TikTok, Instagram, in fact, every social media platform there is out there, with the news, with the recession, there are a lot of very, should I say, somewhat valid reasons why you should veer off your goals or lose focus or concentration. But what if the tortoise also got distracted? Maybe saw a butterfly flying past and thought of waving at it or going after it to see where it was going. We need to really be passionate about the goals we have set as parents, and we need to learn to focus on them. Number three, discipline beats talent. I say it at every opportunity I get. Talent alone is never enough. It is not enough to be a very good designer and then you lack time management skills. For instance, it's not just enough to say I'm a very good parent. I am good at maybe cooking or sketching or designing or something, but then you just anchor all your parenting powers on that skill alone. You need a whole lot, just like we've been talking about discipline for the third time in a row, other attributes that make discipline what it is. So also there are a lot of things we have to consider when we're talking about talent. And then talent alone is never enough. We need to learn skills. We need to master ourselves. We need to really put in our A game if we must achieve our tasks. Number four, overconfidence is dangerous. While it is okay to have a healthy dose of self-esteem, while it is okay to be confident in yourself, while it is okay to love yourself and maybe be your biggest cheerleader, when it gets out of control, when it now becomes too much, it becomes a problem in itself, because too much of everything is bad. As much as salt is good for in your food or good for your health, if you begin to add too much to your meal, it will become counterproductive. If maybe your back is scratching you, or you're having an itch on your back, and you go ahead to itch it, and you keep doing on the same spot for a long time, you see that what you wanted to cause you relief initially is now inflicting pain on you. You need to really be disciplined, no matter how talented you are. Even the Holy Book says, let he that thinketh he stand take heed lest he falls. I think that screams a lot about discipline. Yeah, you won't say because you're talented, you won't learn to plan. You won't say because you're talented, you won't learn to organize. You won't say because you're talented, you won't learn to manage time very well. Finally, you must learn to stay on course. Whether a plan works or not, you should never go back on what you have decided to do. You can definitely change the plan, but make sure that the goal stays intact. Because the person who wins is the one who is very slow to making it, very quick to making a decision, but very slow to changing it no matter what. No matter how bad situations get, it is okay, like I've said already, to change the methods or your plans, but definitely do not change the goal, especially when you have established that it's something worthwhile and worth committing your efforts or your talents or resources to. The thing is, if as parents we fail to harness our strengths, learn of our potentials, learn the skills that are adequate enough to raise some children, we are already a disadvantage to the children we're raising, because you cannot mirror what you you do not have. You cannot demand from children characteristic traits that you yourself you do not possess in yourself. It would be hypocrisy to want a child to be focused when before you even make 10 sentences, you're on your phone. And then you're saying, don't you know you should pay attention? How do I pay attention when you yourself is distracted? Now, I'm not saying be a perfect parent. No, there's no such thing as perfection. All right? I'm just saying work on yourself. Put in the work. Keep at it. Be excellent. Remember, excellence does not mean um, perfection. It just means that put in your very best so that at the end of the day, you'd, even if all fails, you would know that you really, really, really put your best foot forward and then you gave it all you've got. In today's class, the key to accelerating discipline, drawing cues from the story of the tortoise and the hare, we've been able to establish a connection between the tortoise and his attributes and what attributes we should borrow from him as parents or as beacons. We also looked at the flaws of the hare and how they made him feel or lose the competition. And we tried to connect the dots by telling us that consistency is very key, discipline beats talent every time, overconfidence is bad, and that you should learn to stay on course or be focused. I'll leave you with this thought. Would it be easy? Would it be a lot easier? In your opinion, what do you think though? Would it be a lot easier for your child to have you as a mentor? A mentor who would guide him, not only in being a good Christian, whatever your religion is, a mentor who would teach him, really model to him how to comport himself, how to manage his emotions, how to be disciplined. How do you think your child will turn out, knowing that every single day of his life, he has a mentor in you, he has a mirror in you, he has a map in you that is guiding him in every facet of his life? Or even when you do not have the answers, you at least know where to find the answers. Don't you think it will make a whole lot of difference in the life of your child? Now, even if you do not have this attributes we're talking about, don't you think if you commit the next couple of months, okay, we're entering the second quarter, we're already in the second quarter, don't you think if you set a target, like make it a goal to learn discipline for this quarter, you would come out at the end of it a better person than you are currently? Our excuses are valid in the very sense of the word. They are our brain children and it's our job to protect them. But what are these excuses costing you? Or what are these excuses costing your children? I think it is time to go back to the drawing board. There's still time, to go back and learn. Learn to reparent yourself. Learn the skills you couldn't acquire when you were growing up and stop making excuses for whatever it is you didn't learn. Remember, the more you life is a school, the more you live, the more you learn. You must keep learning because life will always keep teaching. Whatever characteristic, behavior, or traits, or whatever your children are doing today is not just a function of their genetics, what they inherited from you and maybe your parents and their mother or their mother or father's parents, in case you're a dad or a mom watching this. It also boils a lot down to their environment, not just their physical environment, the emotional environment you create around them, the mental environment. What energy are you giving? How have you set up the home to foster excellence in them? You say your child should not use their devices after a certain time. Have you provided alternatives? What should they do when the time is up? What do they are there books they can read? Are there activities you've coined out or you've drawn up for them to do? When they are bored, when they actually do not have something to channel their focus on or at, what happens? They begin to throw a tantrum, or they want you to play with them. And I know, I understand you're busy, but you see, if the systems are not in place, your goal will definitely not be achieved. It will definitely be unachievable. You need to have the structure, you need to have the system in place, and then you need to have the discipline to be able to raise children that are truly excellent and are built to last. I hope you gained something from this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, do give us a thumbs up. Share with your friends, your loved ones, and maybe your enemies, and then have them subscribe to this channel for more insightful, practical, and educative tips on parenting every week. Thank you so much for watching to the end.